Welcome to another episode of The Watchdog with me, Lowkey, here on Min Press. Now, regularly, we are going against the grain and covering stories which, unfortunately, are often placed outside of the earshot of the masses and neglected by the mainstream media. For that reason, we hope that you can support us by liking, sharing, subscribing on this video, and supporting us on Patreon too. That would also be greatly appreciated. Now, this week I am joined by somebody who has struggled for many, many years for justice for her son. I'm joined today by Sukdhev, who has been at the forefront of the Justice for Ricky Real campaign. In October 1997, Ricky was chased by racists who were chanting things about Paki go home and other things like this in Kingston through the town centre. Ricky was unfortunately eventually found in the river. Now, this is something that his mother, Sukdev, has struggled for a long time to get a just investigation into what exactly happened to her son on that fateful night. And along that search for some form of justice, there have been many trials and tribulations which have afflicted the Justice for Ricky Real campaign and Sukdev herself. So firstly, Sukdev, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me and to tell the story of Ricky's life and death to the whole public, and asking for solidarity as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And to start with, if you could tell us, what was your son like as a child and how was he growing up?
Ricky was 20-year-old. His real name was Lakwilda. He was 20 when he died. He was born on the 11th of July, 1977, and he was my second child. Throughout his 20 years, there hasn't been a day where I haven't missed him. And he has given me any sort of concern or trouble. As a child, he was a happy-go-lucky child, always helping around the house and friends and neighbors. In school where other children took time out to play during playtime, he used to stay behind and help with the students who were struggling. And this is documented in my book. This was written by the reports by the teachers. And as he grew up, during work experience, all his friends went out to work in big firms and so on. He went to the hospital for a week and helped as a porter. And when I asked him why, it was quite a tough job pushing patients in and out. And he said to me, but that's where the real world lies, Mum. If you want to meet the real world, that's where you are. And he said, I've heard so many stories of people struggling with health conditions and how their families have let them down, nobody come to see them, and how the treatment is affecting. He said, that's where you learn your lessons in life, what people are really like. And the neighbors come again telling us that Ricky used to go out for a run every morning, early in the morning, and that there was this elderly lady who used to work at nights, told me that Ricky used to run in the morning, and sometimes he would meet her and carry her heavy bags home. And that's what he was like. Next door neighbor, going to carnival, he used to make music boxes, and Ricky used to help him and load up the car as well. So that's what he was like, always helping people at home as well, helping with our extension, helping his dad, helping the builders, with me going shopping. And I remember being ill one day and I had to rush to the hospital. He came with me, stayed during the whole time I was in hospital. And I told him to go back home because he had the exams next day. And he had tears in his eyes. He said, how could I leave you like this? He said, I can always take exams next year, but I can't have another mum. So that's the sort of person he was like, always looking out for others, never a thought for himself, but always for others. And, it was unfortunate that he had went out on the 14th October 1997, he went out with three Asian friends. These friends were at uni with him. But Ricky had completed 2 years at Brunel Uni, and he was third year into work experience at a top London firm. And his employers have written as well, which is part of my book as well, where he says that he achieved far more than you would expect somebody of his age, because they looked at his work, and the work he hasn't shown his employers were in his bag, which they found out later what he was doing. And so on the 14th of October, three Asian friends came to pick him up. And the original plan was to go to Brunel for a gig, because it was Diwali soon. But instead they went to Kingston, and they bought alcohol from one of the shops, and they parked the car in Downhall Road in Kingston, and they were sitting in the car, listening to music, dancing around. And a police car passed by and stopped, and they asked for directions to the Options nightclub. They were all jolly, and Ricky was quiet. He's always quiet. And then they said, well, let's walk to the nightclub. As they started walking to the nightclub, on the way there, there were two white men who started shouting abuse and saying, "Pakis, go home," like it's their country and so on. And then they came over and started attacking Ricky and his friends. Everybody scattered around trying to get away from trouble, because Ricky was always like this, can't be bothered with any kind of trouble, because he hated violence. He hated any kind of trouble. And he used to say, why do people get into it? Just walk away. And that was his excuse of getting out of trouble, never get involved in trouble. So he walked away, and all the friends started running around in different directions. Their friends were describing that their jaws were punched, and they were quite painful. Somebody's turban was askew as well. And when they regrouped, Ricky was not with them. Ricky had said earlier on that he wanted to go home. He didn't want to be late. He had told me that he'd be home by 1 o'clock in the morning. And knowing Ricky, I knew he would be home by 10 to 1. He always kept his promise, never let me down. So they, that's what happened. But I was sitting at home waiting for Ricky to return home. 1 o'clock came. He didn't come home. And I thought there was something wrong, seriously wrong here. And I kept on ringing him on his mobile. His mobile was switched off. I don't know how many messages I left. 3 o'clock, I knew that Ricky was in trouble, because that wasn't like Ricky, not returning home at 1. So all night through, I just sat on my stairs, and the other children, younger ones, came down and said what I was doing. I just told them to go back to bed. I was waiting for Ricky. So all throughout the night, I kept on ringing different police stations, different hospitals, asking if there were any car accidents where children were, 4 young people were brought in, and they said no. Early in the morning, I rang my own police station, and I told them that I was very concerned. My son hadn't come home. Can I go and make a statement, or can they come over and take a statement? And I was told, as Ricky was over the age of 18, I can't make a statement, because the policy states anybody over the age of 18 have to wait for 24 hours before they take a statement. But I kept on begging them that Ricky wasn't like this. He's never gone missing before. I was very concerned. And then they turned around and they said, well, all right, they weren't very busy that day, and they sent a police officer. I waited and I waited. The police officer didn't turn up. I phoned them again. And the police officer on the phone started shouting at me, saying I was wasting police resources, and saying that they sent a police officer to my house. And I refused to open the door. I told her that I was sitting near the window waiting for a police officer to arrive, because by that time I had phoned the Brunel University as well, asking them if there was any trouble. Spoke to the security officer and asked him to contact Ricky's friends and see if they could shed any light on this, and also phone my brother, who's very close to Ricky, to come to our house and see how we can proceed further, because I was just out of my mind. I was at loss to know what to do next. And so the police, so she said to me, I was wasting resources. And, that he did come. I told her he didn't come. The police officer didn't come. And by that time, as I was talking, the police officer did turn up at my address. Apparently, the police officers had given him the wrong address. So somebody must have pointed him in the right direction. The police officer came, listened to me, and said he can't do anything. Then I told him to ring the Brunel University security officer. And by that time, they had located one of Ricky's friends who was not with him that night, but who he knew of Ricky and his friends who had gone out that night. So he gave the police officer the friend's number. The police officer phoned Ricky's friends who were with him that night, who told the police officer that they were subjected to a racial attack, that the three of them are together and Ricky is missing. So I don't understand why he did it. The police officer told me the story, told me Ricky and his friends had been attacked and that Ricky is missing, still turned around and said, I'm sorry, I'm not going to take a statement. And you will have to wait for 24 hours. And he just went out, refusing to take any instructions from me or any details from me of Ricky's disappearance. So my brother and my husband went to Kingston Police Station to report it there because our own local police station were not interested in it, even though they told me of the racial attack. First, I did not know about the racial attack. The police officers knew about the racial attack, told me about the racial attack, still refused to take the statement. So we went to the Kingston Police Station and told them what had happened. And the Kingston Police said, by that time, Ricky's friends had arrived at our home and said that Ricky's phone was in the car. So they handed the phone back to me and we took two of Ricky's friends. My husband and my brother took two of Ricky's friends to Kingston Police Station and they showed us where the car was parked, retraced Ricky's steps, and then went to the police station and said we were attacked. And my husband said, could you please take a statement? My son is missing. And these are the friends who are telling you that they were attacked. They are the victims of a racial attack. The police refused to take a statement, instead turned around and said to my husband and my brother, you never know, your son may be gay. And he's refusing to come home and refusing to come out with it. And then he turned around and said, well, you Asian people, you're always arranging your children's marriages, and maybe you were arranging Ricky's marriage, and which he wasn't happy about, and decided to run away. So that's what you Asian people do. So we are not taking a statement. Wait for 24 hours. If he doesn't come, return home, then come back. So no one was interested. So from then on that day, the first day, we knew that we will not get any help from the police. If we have to find Ricky, we would have to do it ourselves.
And so really, we can say that in this situation of the police dealing with a racist attack, we're coming into your home and basically reproducing racist ideas in their conversation with you. And are you of the opinion that the way in which the police dealt with you immediately at that point was racist?
Yes, again, they were racist. They were stereotyping our family because we happened to be Asian, working class family. And also sexism was also in there because I'm a woman. I stood up to face them and they didn't like it. So every time I asked a question, they would answer me. They would give the answer to my husband, even though I was the one who was asking all the questions. They didn't like the fact that a woman has stood up and asked them questions, and also the racism. They totally ignored it. They totally ignored the fact that Ricky was subjected to racist attack. There were two victims of the racist attack who they ignored.
Yeah.
And they were saying, look, we've been punched, we are hurt. Yeah. And even then they turned around and said, well, wait for 24 hours before we do anything.
Yeah. And so then just to move to the point when Ricky was found, how long after this was he found? And then what direction did things take from there?
For the first week, from day one, when we were rejected by the police, we formed our own search parties. We had friends, family, relatives, everybody turning up, and we were looking for Ricky, trying to find out where he has gone and what has happened. There were public out in Kingston asking questions as well, saying, why aren't the police officers looking for your son? Why are you doing all this? It should be the police officers handing out leaflets, speaking to public, jumping into late night buses with a photograph of Ricky saying, have you seen him? Jumping into Paladin bins, big bins, seeing if Ricky was lying there. And going into, at that time, Kingston, the road was all bushes, big old buildings, unsafe buildings there, and forming a human chain, trying to get into the bottom of these old buildings to see if Ricky was there. We located CCTV cameras within 24 hours. No police officer had thought about getting the cameras. So everywhere we went, we located Ricky and his friends on CCTV cameras. And we told the police about it. Everywhere we went with CCTV cameras, we asked if the police had come to view them or to retrieve them. We were told the police hadn't been. Nowhere the police went. So the first 7 days, it was the family and friends who were looking for Ricky with leaflets typed on Ricky's computer, asking people where they are. And so after 7 days, on the third day, a police van stopped outside the house. A few officers jumped and they started searching our house. They took my husband to the garage and me in the house and said, we want to search your house. So they searched the garage, they searched the house. And I was angry. I said to the police officer, that I haven't killed my son. I'm not hiding him here. And I said to him, as he was about to leave, I said to him, you missed the loft. Shall I get a ladder? You want to search the loft as well? We haven't killed our son. We haven't harmed him. So for a whole week, this went on. We asked them to search the river as well, because the car was parked near the river, not far from the river. No, nothing at all. They said to us, the river has been searched. We didn't see any. We used to go to Kingston about 8 o'clock in the morning, return sometimes at 12 o'clock at night, or even later. We did not see any police officers searching or asking or appealing for witnesses in Kingston. It was always the family and the friends. So a week later, Thursday of, I think 4 or 5 days later, a police officer turned up and said he has been appointed as a consultant to look into this case. But on the second day, I had approached Southall Monitoring Group, Suresh Grover, and he got in touch with my MP, John McDonnell. So John McDonnell and Suresh Grover had been involved in the case since 16th of October 1997, and they are still standing with me today. So on the 21st of October 1997, I went out. I used to leave my children at home, and they went out to Kingston again to look at searches and to meet the press, because we were going to do a press release. And I was told, Suresh had a phone call to say, keep Mrs. Reed home to your office, because we have some news for her. I thought maybe they found my son. So I phoned home and spoke to my children, who said, that police car has stopped by outside a house. Could they let them in? I said, yeah, open the door, let the police officers in, because they were coming to collect the seat of the shirt, matching what Ricky was wearing that night. So after that, the phone went completely dead. I tried a couple of times. The phone was switched off. But by that time, the police officer had told me that Ricky's body had been discovered from the river. I collapsed. I don't remember much. All I remember is getting into the car and getting home. And when I reached home, I found a mess. There were 2 police officers standing in my room. My children, my daughter was sitting on the stairs holding her head. And she got up and she told me, Mom, the police officers came into our room and they told us that Ricky had died. We weren't at home. I wasn't at home. My husband was at home. They could have waited. They should have waited. But they told my children. My youngest child was only 11 years old. And they told him that they discovered Ricky's body at the bottom of the river. My daughter went into an asthmatic attack. She couldn't breathe, so she stood up in front of the two police officers, waving her arms so that they could get to the bedroom to get her inhaler. Nobody paid any attention to my daughter. She kept on waving her arms. And in the end, she said she called on the stairs to get her inhaler. She said to me, her exact words were, "Mom, I crawled on the stairs like a dog to get my inhaler because I couldn't breathe." So the the 11-year-old went into a shock. He couldn't breathe. He didn't move at all. And my daughter, the other daughter, went to the kitchen, got glasses of water on a tray, and just stood like a zombie, saying to people if they want a glass of water. That was what I found when I returned home. And they said, my children said to me, "Why weren't you here, Mom? Why didn't you tell us the news? Why did the police officers have to tell the news?" When I found this, and they said the police officer didn't pay any attention to my children. They said they were standing there, Mom, in the corner, sitting, talking and laughing. Nobody paid us any attention whether we were all right or not. So I went there. I told the police officers to leave my home. I said, "You have done enough damage. Just leave my home." And then the police officer, the consultant, came to my house and said, "Mrs. Rio, we found your son's body. There's no need for further investigation. He went to the edge of the river, tried to urinate, and fell in." I said, "What proof do you have?" He said his 5 buttons were undone. I said, "It doesn't mean he went to the river to urinate." I said, "I have been telling you from the beginning that Ricky had phobia of open water. Everybody who knew Ricky knew he had phobia of open water. Ricky would never go near open water. He was a good swimmer, but he swam in the controlled water, not in the open water." And I said, everybody who knew Ricky knew that. And he turned around and said, "Well, maybe you didn't know your son as well as you thought you did." So he said to me, "Case closed." Later on, we found out that Ricky was at the site as well. As soon as Ricky's body was discovered, even before it was taken to the morgue or any thing to be done, the reporter said that the consultant told him that the case was closed, no need for further investigation. It was a tragic accident without any forensic test or any other test which should have been done, which wasn't done. But even before that could have been done, the reporter was told the case was closed. So we knew that we will not get any joy from the police. We had to get help, and we engaged the services of a solicitor. And Louise Christian was a solicitor. She made a complaint to the police about the way they were handling the case. And they said they never closed the case. The case is open. We made a complaint, and the complaint was investigated by the Surrey police. And the Surrey police said, "Well, we will investigate the case." The Met police turned around and said, "We never closed the case, so you can't investigate the case. You can investigate the complaint, but you can't investigate the case." So lots of investigation we carried out ourselves. The CCTV cameras we handed to the police were lost. They said that we never handed those things, or we never informed them of various things. So we set up a campaign called Justice for Ricky Real campaign. We traveled the country highlighting all the mistakes that the police have made. And they said that we will investigate and we'll give you the answers. The Surrey police took about 18 months to investigate, and they have a report which was handed up to me with a restriction order that I will not talk about the Surrey police to anyone, and not discuss the report with my children or my lawyers or my Suresh or John McDonnell. John McDonnell did speak about some of the report in the House of Commons, which is on Hansard. It forms part of my book as well. And the Surrey, it took 2 years for us to reach the verdict. To go to inquest. Inquest was, we were represented by Mike Mansfield at the inquest. And the inquest was just a ploy, really, to get an accidental death verdict. All the evidence that was handed to the police, when they were questioned, the consultant said, the family did not tell us. They did not give us this information, where Mike was able to produce the logs, where we did hand it to the police. So lots of ploys there to dirty the campaign. And the Ricky's friends also gave evidence that they were attacked. And the inquest showed that no evidence was gathered by the police, and also the boys, Ricky's friends, were not asked for any e-fits or any statements, not shown reports of the non-offenders in the area, were not told to do a body sketch or a face sketch, and a lot of missed opportunities. Any cases like this, the first 24 hours are vital, and they lost that opportunity. The boys were not questioned about the attack. The boys were not believed that the racial attack took place. They totally disregarded the racial attack. During the inquest, the head of the investigation answered questions directly to the judge, to the coroner. But the last question, she turned around and she faced the jury, saying, in her opinion, the death was an accident. So she tried to influence the jury to return the accidental death verdict, but the jury returned an open verdict, which means the case is open and the police have a duty to investigate it and to find out who killed Ricky.
Yeah. And rather than doing that, we have now the information clearly available regarding the activity of the Special Demonstration Squad vis-a-vis your son's case. The Special Demonstration Squad, of course, was set up following the Vietnam Solidarity Campaign's protests outside the US Embassy in 1968. You know, this mass mobilization of people partly stopped Harold Wilson sending British troops to Vietnam to join the US military. And what happened was you get these cowboys coming and getting about £500,000 funding to set up this unit that specifically was infiltrating political campaigns. It was using the names of dead children. And in some really horrific cases, you have examples where undercover police officers actually had intimate relationships with women that they were spying on. And later those women have gone on to give birth to children. Unbeknownst to them, these people targeting them were, of course, spies. And unfortunately, you yourself, Sukdev, were in the position of being told that the Special Demonstration Squad actually had files on yourself and the Justice for Ricky Real campaign. Can you tell us just a bit about that? How did you come to find out that was the case?
Yeah, in the meetings with John McDonnell and the police continued. And in 2000, sorry, can I just go back one step? With Ricky's case, there were 4 pathologists involved. Because the police pathologists carried out, the post-mortem, and then because we didn't trust the police, we had our own pathologist who did the post-mortem. And all the 4 pathologists could not put a hand on the heart and say that Ricky slipped and fell in due to the fly buttons being undone. Because during the Marchioness inquiry, the bodies that were recovered from the water had their button zips open because the pressure builds up in the body. And there was a rip in Ricky's shirt, brand new shirt, and there are impact injuries on Ricky's back, and which correspond with the tear in Ricky's shirt. None of the police officers, even today, can tell us why or how this occurred. And there are also disputes about where Ricky went into the water, where the police are saying Ricky went into the water. The pathologists are saying no. So there are lots of questions about this as well. Sorry, coming back to the spying, in 2014, we were we were asked to attend a meeting with the police in John McDonough's office, and there was the Hearns team that came to tell us that we were subjected to what they call it collateral intrusion. They don't call it spying, so I call it spying. And I just froze when they told me that, because I couldn't understand why, or what did I do wrong? Why did they spy on me? All I was asking was for justice for my son. All I was asking was, to do a proper investigation, simply because I kept on pointing their mistakes, and they wanted me to go away and not to embarrass them by highlighting their mistakes, which were happening more and more. And that's the reason they tried to spy on me. And also, I was friends, I still am, with Mr. Lawrence. We gave support to each other, and we spoke at the same platforms. And I think that resulted in spying as well. So I felt degraded. I felt that they have ripped me apart. I felt that, they got like X-ray eyes. They can see through me. So they intruded my privacy. I thought, why the hell were they doing that? I've done nothing wrong. So I felt like I was a second-class citizen. Why are they treating me like this? They treated me like dirt during Ricky's investigation, and now they have gone a step beyond to treat me like a criminal, because by spying, I felt I was a criminal. They made me believe I was a criminal. So I asked lots of questions, and then we met submitting. We were the first family who met submitting, who is the judge of the undercover police inquiry. And I asked, because at the beginning of the case, I was told, early days in 1997, 2 or 3 days after Ricky went missing, I was told that they didn't have the resources, that they have closed the investigation because they didn't have the resources to carry out their investigation to try to find my son, who was missing at the time. So why were no resources available to find my son and then to find his murderers, but to have resources to channel those resources into spying on me? So for them, spying was more important than the death of my son. So I asked questions. I said, why? And I said, what did I do wrong? And he said to me, yes, spying did take place, and he promised to give me files that was held on me. The spying started in 1997 on me. So the spying was going on when I was pleading for them to find Ricky, and then pleading to find my son's killers. So this clearly shows that to them, shutting me up was more important, because they were frightened as to who I was meeting, what I was saying, and my movements were more important to them. So after submitting, after about 18 months, I received about 18 reports. There are more to come, and those reports, I had to give an undertaking as well that I will not talk about these reports, otherwise I wouldn't get them, and I would not show the reports to anyone. But those reports are not very good reading. They terrorized me as to what they were doing to me. And I don't understand. I did not pose any threat to the country. I'm not militant. I was a campaigner, and now people call me an activist. I turned a campaigner. I became a campaigner. I became an activist simply because they made me one. Had they investigated my son's disappearance, had they investigated my son's killers and who killed, or what happened to my son and who killed him, I would have remained a mother. But they forced me to die as a mother and become an activist. So now I want answers from them, how my son died and what did I do wrong to become an undercover to become
A target of
target for
undercover.
undercover policing. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. What did I do wrong? I'm also a co-participant in the undercover police inquiry, and I am making a statement for the court because they have granted me that I can that I they have sorry. Let me rephrase this. I became very ill, very very ill, seriously ill, had major operations, and the judge has now said that I can make a statement earlier than my turn, I think, which is a few years away. And all these are the questions I'm asking. Why was I target for you to spy on me? What did I do wrong? I did not pose any threat to the country. We had police officers in plain uniforms probably coming to my house, watching me cry, watching my children cry, probably having cups of tea with me, and sort of going away probably thinking, what a stupid woman, telling us the story of how her son died, whereas they had to spy on me. So I find that very traumatizing. And I just can't understand their logic of spying on me. What did I do wrong? I mean, even the police officer, when they should have been investigating, because I was speaking, because I kept on making these statements, a police officer who was in charge of the case, who had retired, took photographs of Ricky taken at the post-mortem and contacted a national newspaper, a journalist, and showed her the photographs, distressing photographs, and asked her to write a story and print those photographs. The reporter was so disgusted with this and phoned me to ask if I had given permission for my son's photographs to be printed in the newspaper. She said she had a 4-hour interview with this police officer, well, ex-police officer. So I tried to open my window and try to jump out because I did not want to see those photographs and I did not want my children to see those photographs. Then I stopped because I am crying for my son. My children are crying for his brother. I did not want my children to cry for me as well. So I stopped. I phoned Suresh, and who contacted the police, and who contacted our solicitors as well. So they had a meeting. They spoke to this journalist, and the journalist confirmed what she told me. And so she decided, so she said she'll make a statement to the police. And then the editor used his journalist privilege and said that they will not give a statement, but she confirmed everything to my solicitor. So the solicitor phoned the police, and the police went to this consultant's house and retrieved the photographs. Now I ask, why did an ex-police officer had photographs of my son taken at the inquest in his house? The CPS didn't do anything, simply because a police officer was one of them. So he walked away again. Every time I asked for help from the police, I did not get anything except.
Can I just confirm what year it was that the CPS did not deem this worthy of charge, worthy of prosecution? What year was that?
I think it was in probably 80 or 81.
But the killing was in the disappearance 97. So
yeah.
What year was it that the story with the journalist and the police?
It was straight after the inquest because the
so 2000 would that be?
Yeah, probably like that. Yeah, I can give you a proper year.
Okay.
Because the consultant was admonished by the police, and before anything can be done, he took an early retirement and he walked away.
Yeah.
So as a revenge,
Yeah.
because he told me that he said it actually in the inquest.
Yeah.
He said he lost his job
Yeah.
because of me. So he always blamed me. But I didn't do anything. I
Yeah.
didn't. I didn't do anything that he lost his job.
No.
So he lost his job due to his own failings.
Yeah.
The mistakes he made in the investigation. There are plenty of mistakes that were highlighted in the PCA report, which is still kept under lock and key after 25 years. So he, as a revenge, he contacted the newspaper, knowing that it would hurt me very much. So can you imagine it, having those photographs printed in the newspaper? My children, at that time used to go to school, and other children and parents looking at those photographs and talking to my children, or probably challenging my children, or saying mean words to my children. What would they go through? But he wanted to punish us. So he still walked away. And now we've been asking for the asking the report, the PCA report, Public Complaints Authority, as I was known at the time. I think they are known by another name. We asked them to release the report after 25 years. Enough is enough. So my solicitor wrote to the police, Met Police, last year in December, and even today we have sent several letters, emails to the Met Police. The Met Police said it's the responsibility of the Surrey Police. The Surrey Police says it's the responsibility of the Met Police. So it's like we've been thrown backwards and forwards. Nobody knows where the report is. And then now we've been told that it's with the Home Office. So we are asking the Home Office to release the report, because my lawyer needs the report in order to prepare a statement for the undercover policing, because I am aware, I am sure that the spy impacted on the investigation, because the resources that should have been spent on trying to find out what happened to Ricky were taken away and spent on spying.
So I'm so sorry, Sukdev, but we are approaching the end of the show and running out of time. I'm so sorry about that. But just before we end, can you tell people what they can do to get involved in the campaign and support your fight for justice for your son, but also tell them about your new book? Well, your book that's out now.
Okay. I have written a book called Ricky Real, Silence is Not an Option. Is sold at all major bookstores. It costs £10. The whole story, which I haven't been able to tell now, has been in the book. So please, people, buy the book, share the story, write reviews in Goodreads, and talk about Ricky's case, talk about other people's cases as well, because a mother has been fighting for justice for 25 years. I can't carry on like this. We need support. Talk to your MPs. Send letters to the police force, Met Police force, and tell your MPs to get involved with John McDonald in highlighting this case. John is always bringing up this case in the House of Commons once a month. Please support him by highlighting the case to other members of Parliament as well. And we have a petition on Change.org. Please sign this petition. We have over 100,000 signatures at the moment. So please do sign the petition as well, and do what you can. Please support us in any way you can. If you are a Unison member or other unions, when you have your meetings, ask us to come to your meeting, join your meetings as well, where we talk about this case. And Lowkey, I have a request for you, please. Do something, a song or something for Ricky, please. I asked you a couple of years ago. You were very busy at the time, so I'm asking you now, please.
I would love to. I also wanted to play as part of the show the beautiful song that was made for the campaign. I've watched it almost Richie Rich about 4 or 5 times, and every time it brings so many tears to my eyes, and it's touched me really deeply. And I hope that our audience can listen to the song and can also feel the same and get involved in the campaign. Mint Press are here to support you in everything that you are doing. And we hope that you will consider this platform also your platform. And
thank you.
We will continue to stand with you in this fight. Thank you so much, Sukdhev.
Thank you.